Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and thank you for checking out Dr. Boyce Watkins on AOL Black Voices. And today I am here with to discuss a really interesting topic that goes back to what I would generalize as issues in male-female relationships. The whole concept of what my assistant would call "I'll take your man," which some of you saw recently with Alicia Keys and Fantasia and all these adulterous affairs. But then you also see stuff like Tiger Woods and I think his relationship cost him $100 million or something like that. So what I wanted to do was sort of square some of this out. And in order to make the teams balanced, I brought on two brothers and two sisters, and these are people that I really respect. It's about to be ugly up in here, so I'm just gonna sit back and watch the blood spurt in different directions. To my left is Dr. James Wadley, and Dr. Wadley, you wrote a book with a great title, and give us that title.
It's called "Would You Marry You?"
Yeah, Would You Marry You? I just think that's an amazing title, and you are a licensed therapist, right?
Yes, licensed in Pennsylvania, New Jersey.
Okay, and you do a lot of good work in terms of really giving really good, solid advice on relationships, right?
Do the best I can.
All right. And here we have Miss Estia Brown. Lovely as usual. It's always I'm always happy to have you here. And you are with Black Voices and Essence, and you've done a lot of good stuff. And you're also actually at Columbia right now, right?
At NYU.
NYU, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
sorry
I did graduate from Columbia.
Oh, you graduated
Yeah.
from Columbia, and you so you got all the pedigree.
Yeah.
And,
Howard, I have to mention Howard.
And Howard. We would definitely have to throw Howard in there.
Yeah.
And here,
Hampton. Yeah, but that's a whole nother story.
Gotta love Howard. And here we have Miss China Okasi.
Yes.
And you are with Madame Noir.
Madame Noir with an E at the end.
Madame Noir with an E at the end.
Yes.
.com, which is actually an amazing website for women. I write some articles for you as well, and I really like your layout and the great content you guys have. I think everybody should check it out. And you've done a lot of really interesting stuff in your career. She doesn't tell anybody this, but I think you started college at Cornell when you were 16, right?
When I was 16, yeah.
Yeah, and you then graduated when you were about 19?
19.
Yeah, something. Yeah, and what else? You Columbia? Did you go to Columbia too?
Yeah, I went to Columbia. I went to University of Pennsylvania, and I went to Cornell.
All
Look
right.
at
Now,
this pedigree up in the house. This is
Well,
just,
you know, what are you
I'm
going
gonna
to do?
leave right now.
I'm talking about excellence in the black community. That's what we are all about. And last but not least is George James, and you are with you are a marriage and family therapist for the Council for Relationships University office. Is that correct?
Is. It's in University City, Philadelphia. It's called Council for Relationships.
Yeah, and you also have a company called George Talks LLC. What does that company do?
Well, it's communication and consulting services. We provide workshops, services like that, where just to help people kind of have better lives. That's really the goal and our mantra.
Oh, that's good stuff. I like that. Well, thank you guys for all coming out. I feel like I have an all-star panel. And so what I'll do is I'll throw questions out in the middle of the table and let you guys kind of jump at them and grab them. Because we were having some good conversations even before we started taping. And maybe we could even start back with that, with a broad question of, this whole issue of black relationships in the African-American community. Is there a problem? And if there's a problem, in maybe 45 to 60 seconds, and I want everybody to get a chance to speak their piece on this. Well, what do you think the problem might be? Anybody want to start?
I think the problem is a lack of communication, and that oftentimes people don't put themselves in a place to talk about what they want, what they need, and what they value in relationships. And what happens is that when people actually get into relationships, they find out that their partners can't read their minds. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, I want to be married. I found this perfect person. And then after I get married, we find out that we have different conceptions about what marriage is. Well, we should have had this conversation before we got married to find out, hey, well, what is it that you find to be valuable in your relationship? So at least with the clients who I see, as well as with my students, people struggle to talk about what they want, what they need, and what they value.
Okay.
yeah, I completely agree with you. And in addition, I think it's really not understanding what it takes to maintain a relationship, because there are not a lot of households that have healthy relationships for people to mirror and model. So sometimes you come in thinking that life is going to be the Cosby Show, at worst Family Matters, and you realize that it's so much more to maintaining a relationship than just having the degree and having the house and having the car. It's understanding your partner's backstory, their wants, their needs, and how to fulfill them.
Okay, so China, do you think that the when you think about these households that don't have both parents in the house, how do you think that affects the ability and desire to have a healthy relationship when you become an adult?
I think, first of all, well, speaking to the question you asked earlier, and it kind of relates to this as well, I don't think that every household that is a single-parent household automatically means that, you know, children will not be able to have healthy, functional relationships. I think part of the problem with Black relationships is, ironically, the talking points. You know, we hear so much about who we are. We hear that, well, you know, but Black people don't do this. And, you know, well, Black women, they can't find men. And Black women are so single. And, you know, kids from single family homes, you know, single parent homes, they don't really do really well. So it's like we're feeding on our own feces. You know, we're really like buying into this narrative of ourselves that's very separate and disconnected from our actual real lives, like he said. You know, it's like you have the facade and the talking points, and then you have what happens in real time on a day-to-day basis. What was your question again?
I'm just listening.
Right? Yeah. So I think
you're giving a good answer to it. Whatever the question was, you're answering well.
That's what I'm telling you. And I like Family Matters.
That's a good show.
I like it too, but that was a working class. That was a working class family, and the Cosby Show was the epitome, you know, of the.
That was Urkel, right?
Urkel.
Didn't Urkel get locked up for domestic violence recently or something? See, now that's
Jaleel White was arrested for domestic violence.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, he was playing a role. He was playing a character, so
Urkel should not be beating his woman. That's messed up.
He'll always be Urkel,
right?
He'll always be goofy. Trying to grow up and be whatever else.
I agree with you. I do think that there's a lot of conversation about us being victims and not having and not doing and not knowing. And the truth is that when you start to buy into it, you start replaying those tapes in the back of your head. So when problems arise, it is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, well, it's not going to work. This is not for me. This is not for us.
Right. You know, but one of the things, you know, as we're talking, one of the things I'm thinking about is that what I've seen is that a lot of people are not given the tools necessary. So how many of us can really think back that we were taught how to be in a relationship, right? Like literally, like our parents or godparents really gave us information to have healthy relationships. And if we did, right, how many of us really took that information and then followed through to really use that? And so if you look at us, whether single parent, whether, you know, intact families, we don't have the tools necessary or the skill set. Yeah, and this is Black and beyond Black. You know, we're not really taught how to be in successful relationships, so that when we get into a problem, what do? We go back to the ill situations that we've learned. Maybe it's we fight, maybe we give up, maybe we cheat. All these things that we saw, but not the things that necessarily we learn to use in these relationships.
And we also stab each other and stuff.
Oh, please.
Yeah, there's always another option as well. So Dr. Wiley, what would you say about this? I've thrown out this idea, and of course, this is never going to happen, but if I were dictator for a day, I would tell everybody, look, if you want to get married or have a baby, and we mean you're raising a child, you have to take a class to learn how to do that. A semester-long class, maybe 2 classes for the whole semester, like to where you really learn how to raise a child properly, how to be married properly. What would you think about that? If I were running for president on that platform, would you vote for me, and why?
I would definitely vote for you. It actually echoes George's sentiments about getting the tools that you need. So you take a parenting class to learn what do you do when your baby's crying. Now, if you grow up in some households, they'll say, well, you just got to spank your baby until they stop crying. But then there are a myriad, rub a little brandy on the lips.
Robitussin, not the strong stuff.
There are a myriad of behavior modification techniques that parents can use in order to not only be a better parent, but also be a better partner to whoever it is that they're raising the child with. But again, it goes back to that communicating. Like, what does having a baby mean? Now, for some people, men, women, whatever, it means I got to get out and go work some more just to take care of my child. For some people, having a baby means, oh, I need to be there for my child because my parent was never there for me. So before we decide to lay in the bed or wherever it is that you're going to have sex or conceive a child, you need to talk about, well, what does it mean? And how are we going to handle this together if we want to have somebody to raise a child with?
You agree?
I'm just like so in agreement with you. And I have a lot of friends now who